Chair Ryan Hamilton.
Thanks, Chair. Just one primary and possibly a sub on that. Minister, savings and reprioritisation was again a big feature of this budget. Can you elaborate how you'll continue to look for savings over the budget and forecast period?
Yeah, well, look, I'm really proud of the collective efforts of our ministers to continuously drive for value for money. We are conscious that every dollar we spend is spent on behalf of New Zealand taxpayers. And the question I think all of us should ask before we spend another dollar is what difference would that dollar have made in a family whose budget is stretched each week, who at the supermarket aisle are having to make very difficult choices about which food they purchase for their kids' lunchboxes. And so we have had a continuous savings drive, both to identify areas of spending which are no longer driving the gains that were hoped for, but also to make sure that funding can flow to its highest priority uses. Now, granted, there will be different value judgments about those. We in this budget put $420 million into the police. Others around this table would defund the police. We stand by that choice.
So actively
our savings initiatives delivered in our first budget $23 billion worth of savings over the forecast period, and this budget $21 billion worth of savings over the forecast period. The simple reality for anyone wanting to manage New Zealand's finances over the next few years is that we can't simply rain more money into every budget. We always need to be looking for savings to top up the discretionary investments that we make elsewhere.
Very good. And just a supplementary on that, as you work through some of the, I guess, the legacy financial issues that have been enshrined, were there any surprises where there were investments made over time that didn't deliver outcomes?
Yes, that has been a feature of our journeys of discovery through the government books, that there have been a number of areas which we have identified where we haven't seen the bang for buck that we think New Zealand taxpayers would expect. And ministers have been forthcoming in bringing forward savings. In other cases, we have seen the opportunity to make policy changes, which in the long run will have positive fiscal effects, but we also think positive economic and social effects. An example of that is our initiative in this year's budget, where we've identified that while 18 and 19-year-olds have every opportunity to enter education or training that is subsidised by the taxpayer, increasingly we are seeing a number of them choose to be on the job seeker benefit. That is bad for them. The stats are pretty clear that if you end up on a job seeker benefit at that age, the chances are you will be on that benefit for many years into the future, which is a terrible undermining of human potential. So in this budget, we have introduced savings by saying that in future, 18 and 19-year-olds will have eligibility for a job seeker benefit tested against parental income. The intent of the policy is very clear. It is to say we want those young people either in a job or in training. And that is the best place for them. The corollary is also a fiscal saving.
Okay, thank you. We've got one supplementary from and then we're going to go to Dr. Deborah Russell.
Yeah, primarily springboarding off of your answer to that primary question in which you conflated effectively a government with a household. I just wanted to understand your understanding of the multiplier effect of government spending.
Well, that depends on the quality of government spending. And it is wrong to assume that every time that the government spends a dollar that creates positive impact, because there is always an opportunity cost, as I've just outlined, which is that you then need to consider, would the dollar spent through government consumption create more positive impact than a dollar spent through private consumption? And certainly when you look through the books over recent years, the shift in New Zealand has been increasing amounts of our overall economic resource being tied up by the state, with higher rates of government spending proportional to our economy. That has coincided with decreasing rates of productivity by the state, which is to say that the impact it has had from the spending it has made has been low. And anecdotally, members will have heard this from members of the public who say, well, I know that we racked up more than $120 billion of extra debt under the last government. I know that spending blew out, but what do we have to show for it? And so we are always conscious in this government that when the private sector has more resources, it can make good discretionary choices about where to invest and how to spend, that in many cases can be productivity and growth enhancing.
Okay, we're going to leave it at that. We're going to go to the Honourable Dr. Deborah Russell. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, I want to focus my questions around.
Okay, well, hold on there, Deb. We'll get to some more serious things on there.
I want to know, she keeps saying, 18 and 19-year-olds, they're choosing to be on job seekers. I wonder, I hope Deborah asks you this. What are the stats for the underutilisation rates? Give me the stats for that. Because what I'm looking at here, and I've got the Treasury report open, is that the amount of people that are going on job seekers is going to increase, and that's because a lot of our experienced workers, we have an aging workforce, right? Now, when you're pushing back things like superannuation, right, what's going to happen? Older people are going to stay on the job, okay? Younger people are not going to get employed because they don't have the same level of experience as the older generations do, right? And so they're creating the gap artificially. So you're going to end up with these people, right, younger people who need jobs now so they can get the experience they need to be productive in a couple of years' time. But because National has kicked the can down the road by proposing to increase the age of superannuation, right, they've created this gap. And that's not good, because young people are going to either do one of two things. They're going to go on job seekers, or they're going to go over to Australia to get a job.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the other thing is, why are people signing up to job seekers versus, say, student allowance? Is that because the means testing has made them ineligible for student allowance?
Good question.
You know, because that's the other thing. Like, you know, one of the reasons why I never studied is because I tried to get independent circumstances,
Yep.
and what a nightmare it was. And I had a friend who also had to every year prove her dead mother was dead to retain independent circumstances.
Yep. So you didn't even
No.
consider going to government subsidised courses like, you know, like with Te Wananga or anything like that?
She was at Victor. For me, it was, I wanted a job. Oh, no, we want you in education. How about you do this NCA Level 1 course? What's the point of it, NCA Level 3? No, our records show you're a fifth form dropout at Horowhenua College. You go, I didn't go to Horowhenua College, I went to Paraparaumu. Have you even read my CV? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, that doesn't-
and like, that was a bit discount. Said, okay, fine, I'll go and do a computer science thing at UCOL. And what a muck around I got with that, trying to get student allowance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yep.
so in turn, I didn't end up studying. And, you know, and later on I got a job at BP.
I mean, I had the opposite problem. I ended up overstudying. And even with the qualifications, I still didn't get a job.
Yeah. Well, I know the student loan, but, you know, I was pretty bullied into doing that, and look where it ended up.
Yeah.
Well, look what result it delivered.